right. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Antler and FeatherCo podcast, the podcast for new and adult onset hunters. My name is Vince. I'm going to be your host. And man, we got a good show tonight. I am recording this intro after the fact. I'm kind of finding myself doing that more often. It's just a little bit easier to give you guys a good intro when I already know what we've talked about. But yeah, I'm just back fresh from Total Archery Challenge Michigan. I had an absolute blast doing that. I recommend that for every single person. I know that sometimes it can be really difficult to get into. It is a very popular event, but if you've got the opportunity to do TAC, man, go do it. It is so fun. Get a group of friends. If you don't have friends, go up there by yourself. You'll find somebody. Funny story. That's how I met the group I shot with this year. Shout out to Aaron and Elizabeth. I met them last year, as well as Kyle from More Innovations. Inside joke with Kyle, Jake from State Farm. But I met those guys last year at TAC, just happened to run into them. Funny story behind that. I'm sure I've said it before, but now this year, a year later, we're shooting TAC together in a group and hanging out, and it was an absolute blast. My buddy Tyler was up there as well. He shot with us last year. We had such a good time. It would be wrong of me to not bring up the fact that although this Michigan Total Archery Challenge was less, how do I want to say this? There were less hiccups than my Total Archery Challenge Tennessee. We did have somebody, and I won't name Aaron's name, but we did have somebody dry fire a bow. But luckily, Aaron is in pretty tight with John Dudley, and John happened to have a part that he needed and got Aaron back up and running, and we just had a blast shooting. It's very sandy up there. I did not know Michigan. I don't remember Michigan being so sandy, but so the hiking was a little rough, but it was just a great time. I also got to meet John Dudley again, which I won't shy away from the fact that, you know, I have so much respect for that guy. He has literally taught me how to shoot a bow. And every time I've ever been around him, he is not, you meet these guys and there's somebody, and they've got to be somebody. And John completely just puts himself aside and helps every single person he comes in contact with. It's awesome to see him try to get every person to shoot that knock squatch. He puts himself out there to help as many people. So he is awesome. So big shout out to John Dudley, as well as the fanny pack arrows. So it was really cool. I pulled up, you guys might've seen on Instagram, I pulled up, and the first people I saw, I was bringing Pursuit Energies, trying to get them out to some people. The first people I run into in the parking lot, and the dude Nate has the fanny pack wraps and arrows. And he was kind of like, yeah, cool arrows. I was like, yeah, you too. And I was like, oh, wait, you got the fanny pack. And he's like, yeah, so do you. I'm like, yeah, I'm that guy. And it was a really cool, fun interaction. I saw, I had a lot of people recognize that. For everybody that I got to meet there, it was great to meet you guys. I did not realize when you do a podcast, you tend to think that like only your family and friends listen. And I had so many people that I met that I don't know. And it was just really cool to meet you guys and know that you guys are out there listening. And so it was a humbling experience, and I appreciate it. I appreciate all you guys that listen. I had great feedback about the show, and that really goes a long way in terms of, me being motivated to keep this thing going. It was just, like I said, it was humbling in a good way. And I appreciate every single one of you guys that spend the time to listen to this show. So thank you guys for that. I want to do a shout out, Hoka shoes. So generally we have hunting boots, hunting shoes, blah, blah, blah. I ended up going with some trail hiking boots for TAC. And that's one thing that I kind of recommend. If you guys are going to be doing that, hunting boots can be comfortable, but I don't necessarily, unless you're in Crispies, I've been told, I don't own them, but any hunting boot I've had is comfortable, but it's to a certain point. And so I got some Hokas, and those things are like a freaking cloud. I don't know Hoka. I'm not hooked up with Hoka. I have no reason to promote them other than they were super comfortable. So if you guys need a comfortable shoe, for 3D. Look into their stuff, man. I don't remember what mine are called. It's Hoka Trail something or other, but they were very comfortable. They took me through the weekend, so I was really happy about those. So I also want to say thank you to everybody who's been checking out AntlerFeatherCo.com. Just a reminder, we are there. We have gear. We have merch. Everybody that's been buying some stuff, I appreciate that. That helps keep the show going, keep the project going. If you haven't checked it out, go to www.antlerfeatherco.com. Check out what we got to offer. I'm pretty sure we got something that everybody's going to like. My recent favorite is the My Girl Hunts Harder Than You shirt. I really like that one. So check us out over there. And if you like something, help support the show. And I appreciate it. So thank you guys for that. Catching up, we're going to talk later in the show kind of about our dogs. I unfortunately lost my pup yesterday. So when you guys hear this, it'll be a few days back. But I just want to take a quick moment to just, if you've got pets, if you got a good dog, love them because they don't last forever, and it's unfortunate. And my boy Wrigley was just the sweetest, best dog you could ever ask for. I know my family is deeply grieved by it, and we hate to see it, but he's in better places now. And so that kind of catches you up with me since you've heard from me last, but I don't want to go too far into this. Like I mentioned later, if I think about Wrigley too much, it's too fresh. I'm gonna cry. So let's jump into the content. This week we have Mark Ottenbreit from Late Start Hunt. Mark and I have been talking back and forth for quite a while, and he is a great guy. He's a newer hunter, kind of newer into archery and stuff. So I not only just wanted to talk to him because I've wanted to talk to him for a long time, but I think he brings up a lot of things that we as newer hunters will experience. So it's just a great show. Make sure you guys check out Late Start Hunt on Instagram. Give him a follow. I think you're going to like what he's got on there. But enough of me rambling. I do that way too much. Let's hop into the content with Mark. So please help me welcome to the show, Mark from Late Start Hunt. Mark, how you doing today, dude?
I'm doing well, Vince. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for coming on. It's been a long time coming, I think. We've been following each other and talking for a very long time, and thrown questions and answers back at each other a lot. So I'm glad to finally get you on here. I think it's going to be a good show. It's going to be really interesting because you, like me, are newer to the hunting game, specifically the bow hunting game, which we'll get more into later. So I think this is going to be a good, like I talked about before, like a recalibration episode, because overall, we can get into some squirrely hunting topics on the show. And I like to kind of be reminded that, like, this is for newer hunters. And so I think this is going to be a good one. So this is going to be, guys, this is episode 2 of season 3, or number 42, I guess. I went to the 40 system. I was going to do the one.
I made it in the top 50. That's good.
Yeah, there you go. No, I was doing the season 1, season 2, season 3, and then I was just doing episodes 1 through 20. And then I was like, I know when I look at podcasts, if it's like, an early, like if I see episode 3, I might be more apt to not give it as much time just because I'm like, it's brand new.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want people to see episode 2 or episode 1 and be like, skip. Yeah. So I'm going to the total count. So we're up to number 42. But yeah, man, glad to have you on here.
Glad to be here.
So guys, last week, I kicked off the season and I forgot the most important part of the show. So we're going to say a prayer right now before we get too deep into it. We got a lot of great topics we're going to talk about today, especially if you are a newer hunter, if you're newer to social media, Instagram, YouTube, whatever you're doing to kind of document your hunting journey. We're going to dive into stuff like that as well. So with that, let's say a quick prayer and then we'll hop into our conversation. Lord Jesus, I thank you for another day. I thank you for another chance to link up with someone that you've put in my life through this thing that we call hunting that you've also put into my life. it's been such a great journey, just from hunting itself, but also the different people that you've allowed me to meet and connect with. And so I thank you for that. I do want to pray for my pup Wrigley, who passed away yesterday. That's been pretty hard on the family. Wrigley was with us for a good 7 years, and we're just so thankful for the time that we got to spend with Wrigley. He was absolutely the joy of our lives, and we know he's with you now. And so, as we all may or may not know, Wrigley was deaf, so I'm assuming now he can hear. He's at full health, and he's in good hands now. He's in the best place he could be. So again, we thank you for Wrigley and his life. And Lord, I want to thank you for Mark. I want to thank you for his time, and again, for bringing him into my life. I've enjoyed every conversation we've got to share, and I'm so glad that we're finally getting to have one semi face-to-face through this podcast. And so thank you for him. Thank you for leading him kind of down the same path that you've led me in terms of hunting and being in the outdoors and enjoying your creation. And we just ask that you would be with us on this conversation. I know you are, and I know you will be. And we just ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. I was able to hold it together on the dog part.
Yeah, you are. I think I'd let you know too. We had a Labradoodle that I put down on Sunday, 15 years.
Yeah.
That's not, it's tough. It's a tough thing.
It is, man. I mean, it's one of the things that, just to keep it hunting related, maybe, it's one of the things that bothers me more than anything when I see, bird hunters that have bird dogs and they have hunting dogs. Sometimes those hunting dogs seem to be part of the family, and they're along for the fun. They're along for the hunt with mom or dad or whoever. But there's other times where, especially when I look at other pointers, I had an English pointer.
Mm-hmm.
They're a piece of property. They're a piece of hunting gear. And, I've seen guys, doesn't point for shit, I'm getting rid of him, or just for whatever reason, they just treat them like they're a used piece of gear and they just want to move on to the next one. And that breaks my heart. I mean, I've had other pets in my life. I've had lizards and snakes and cats and you name it, goldfish. And I'm currently in possession. I'm the owner of a beta right now that was supposed to be my son's, but
what's a beta?
Any of us who have,
was that a fish?
It's like a fighting fish.
Yeah.
It's like the size of a goldfish, but they're like,
I remember those. They have them in the little cups on this, They used to have them at Kmart. Are there any Kmarts anymore? I used to be on the shelf at Kmart.
I don't know, man. I don't know if they have those anymore or not. But yeah, I mean, I've had a multitude of different types of pets, and they're all great, and they're all, you have a connection to all of them, but there's nothing quite like the connection you get with your dog. It's I won't get too far on this tangent. I don't want to take the whole time talking about him. Plus, I don't want to cry on camera.
Me neither.
But they are a part of the family. It was my wife and I got Wrigley before we had kids. That was our first kid together, and you just look back on all the great times with them, and then it's inevitable. The sucky part's how many times did I come home and he was excited and I ignored him to go play with the kids, especially because I have a 4-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, so it's like the dog naturally gets less attention. And so you start thinking about all the times, he was just sitting there, dad, 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 dad. And you just kind of like, that type of stuff creeps into your mind. And I'm sure that goes away. And like I said, I'm trying to focus on all the fun we got to have together, all the experiences. But yeah, man, losing a dog is not an easy thing. And,
they are part of the family.
Yeah, and I'm very sorry to hear about your dog passing, and it just sucks. That's all you can say about it. There's no other way to cut it. It just sucks.
Yeah.
I'll fully admit I was ugly crying all day yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I've even been that upset about any human, and I've lost a lot of really great people in my life, family and friends, and it's like something different.
Well, I'll be honest, that dog that we put down, I liked him a lot better than most humans I come across, just to be honest with you.
It's the
tough.
truth, man.
It was tough.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite quotes, it was from Louis Simmons. If I got any West Side barbell or lifters who have heard this, Louis, he told this little joke story, and he said, the bond with a dog is unlike anything you'll ever have. The love of a dog is stronger than any love. And he's like, just to prove it, go lock your wife in the trunk of the car and go lock your dog in the trunk of the car. When you open the trunk of the car on your wife, she's going to want to beat your butt.
Yeah.
When you open the trunk on the dog, all he wants to do is say hi and give you hugs and kisses. Right. They are
definitely unconditional love.
Yeah. They're a different animal. If you've never had one, get one. And you'll get a lot of great memories with them. And, unfortunately they have to end. And, it's like I said, it's a very, very hard, tough thing to do, but we'll get through it. We'll remember them for how awesome they were. And, they'll live on with us for the rest of our lives, even though they're not here.
They will.
I was joking. I was trying to make light of the situation. And sometimes I have kind of darker humor. The vet was telling us before we put him down, we offer cremation services. We can do little pet things. And I looked at Brandy and I was like, I thought we were going to have him mounted.
Yeah.
That way we can just move him around the house.
I got a great taxidermist.
Yeah. The vet kind of laughed, but I don't know if she was thinking it was that funny. Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, I know a lot of guys that can do real good work on a deer. I'm sure they could do good for Wrigley. So.
That's a little morbid. Or whatever.
Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes I gotta do that, because if I don't make those terrible jokes where I make myself go, "Oh man, why did you say that?"
Yeah.
Then it distracts from any other sad feelings of it. But well, guys, that's enough of dog talk. Like I said, I'll start crying if I keep going. So R.I.P. Wrigley. And what was your dog's name?
Bauer.
Mm-hmm. So rest in peace, both of you. I know they're up in heaven watching right now, going, "Whoa, our dads are doing a podcast." So
laughing.
Yeah. So you guys behave up there. We'll be up there soon enough. So let's get to where we first met. So I think when I went back and looked, I don't remember if this must have been before the Arrow a Day Challenge, the first one.
Yeah. It was.
I don't know if I put something out saying basically like, "Hey, I want to see what deer you guys are getting down," and blah, blah, blah. And you sent me a picture of just this absolute monster of a doe. And, you just shared with me like, "Hey man, this is my first deer." And I was super pumped for you, and your name, obviously Late Start Hunt, caught my attention just due to, the fact that I'm also a late start hunter. I want to try to put information out I try anyway to put out information that is good for newer hunters. So instantly I was like, I like this guy. So I started following you, and we've kind of just been back and forth ever since. And I believe it was the first Arrow Day Challenge. And before we I'll get back to like kind of how you got into hunting, but I think if anybody remembers a way back, if you've been listening to the show or whatnot, Mark, you started the Arrow Day Challenge, and I think it's a bow right behind you, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is.
That bow, I thought it was freaking awesome, because you had shared with me that you were new to bow hunting because you had shoulder issues, and you, regardless of, I don't know if people gave you crap online or not, I thought it was freaking awesome that you just wanted to shoot your bow, and you didn't care what bow it was. You didn't care about, it's not a Matthews, I better not show it to the internet. It was awesome just to watch you kind of progressively fall in love with shooting your bow, because you were still really new to it. So share the story of what happened before that. And then in terms of like, what was your injuries in the crossbow thing? And then I can't remember where you got that bow from. So
sure,
kind of catch us up to speed with how you got a bow in your hands to begin with.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk a little bit about this too, but I started hunting probably 5 years ago, probably serious hunting 2 years ago. It was just my friend, my buddy who hunts a lot from Kentucky. He called it the triple F hunting: friends, family, and food. There's no deer. There's no anything involved in this. It's just you and your family up north at your property. And, I remember freezing my butt off the first year up there. I got my gun and everything, and I'm like, we pop up this blind and we go sit out in the middle of nowhere, making all kinds of noise, no scent, detraction, nothing like that. I mean, we're running through the woods, we're just popping stuff up, we're laughing, we're joking. You got 6 people in a 4-man blind, you're just jammed in there. My son's on his computer, and you're making tons of noise. And I remember freezing, thinking, I don't know if I like this. I'm freezing my butt off. And so my one buddy was like, well, you should get a bow or a crossbow and hunt earlier. You can get it all out of the way, get it done in October. It's in the 70s. It's perfect. So, I went into a store and pulled back a bow, and just at that point in time, it was actually before I had my shoulder surgery, was just terrible. I couldn't do it. And I'm like, well, I can't do this. So it was a little bit easier for me to cock a crossbow, but the crossbow that I bought, you couldn't decock it. So you got, you've got to shoot into a bag and that. And it was just, I don't know. I just never, I practiced with it a lot, never had an opportunity to shoot an animal because I never knew what I was doing. Never got a deer in front of me with that. And then, this is a little while into when I started following you and listening to your show, and the whole crossbow thing came up, and I'm like, you're like, this crossbow is for like old people. And I'm like, hey man, I'm like, I know I'm a little further along in life than you, but
I was trying to lighten it up.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not that old, but then you said, injuries and things. And I'm like, yeah. So I think I commented, and it's funny because the Frenchman, the pitcher, he was in the comments because I think it was on his podcast that you did. And
I had him on there. Right. And we got into it.
Yeah. He commented on a couple of things that I said on there, just saying like, hey, it's just, what about old men with injuries, and is that okay? I'm like, but I thought, man, I'm going to try shooting a bow. And it was Christmas Eve of last year. My father-in-law, we were talking about it, and I said, I think I'm going to buy a compound bow. And he's like, well, I have one. And I said, you do? And he's like, yeah. So he pulled it out of his closet, and it was this, 1994 PSE Thunderflight Express. I knew nothing about him. And he, I'm like, well, that doesn't really look like the bows I'm seeing these guys use, but so what, I'm going to try it anyways. He's got aluminum arrows that are up here, these Easton aluminum arrows. And I mean, they're like, one guy commented on one of my things. He's like, how long are those arrows, dude?
I remember.
And I was like, they're pretty long. Like I pull them all the way back, and I still have like 1.5 feet outside of my, for my bow. But you know what? It got me started. And I don't even know what poundage it is. I don't have any, like, I know a couple people commented and said, your jaw length's all off. What are you doing, dude? What's the matter with you? So there were comments. I mean, they weren't really negative. They were more like, hey, go get your jaw length checked. What poundage are you shooting? So I learned through all this stuff. So I put those videos out, and I knew I was opening myself up to some, criticism and some critique, which is fine, because that's this whole platform. And one of the reasons why I got onto Instagram was to learn from everybody. And that's how I got drawn to you and your page and your podcast, because I'm like, man, this is right up my alley. He's going to have people coming on that know a lot more about hunting than I do and that he does. And then these people are going to share a lot of stuff. And honestly, I've learned quite a bit on a lot of different levels in hunting just from listening to your podcast or following your page. But, and the arrow a day thing was great for me because that got me going and it got me addicted, and then Dave Hawkins from Urban Pursuit, he was great too. Both of you guys were back and forth with me and look at this and shoot that. And so I probably shot 20, 30 different bows before I bought this Prime Logic that I had that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
It just, and I think it was you that said to me, it's like, whatever field, Dave said this too, you can go get a Matthews, you can get a Prime, you can get Bear, whatever you want. But if it doesn't feel good to you, it doesn't matter. You can spend $2,000 on a bow, and if you don't like the way it feels, you don't like the way it shoots, don't get it. You can spend $600 on a bow and like that. But this Prime I got at our local bow shop it was half off on sale, had nothing on it, so I had to build it all myself, put all the components on it. So it was a good learning experience for me, and I absolutely love it now. And unfortunately, because of my job, when you started this last arrow a day, I think I was like, I shot one day and I'm like, hey, you got to bring this back, dude. Like, you keep me accountable here. And then when you started it, I'm like, I'm going to be on the road for like 3 weeks. It's the worst month for me to start that. But, I did. And my wife gets gets upset because I go shoot in the backyard, and where we live, we're surrounded by, by people. And my one neighbor
Right.
is just not, let's just say he's not on the same thought process as we are from a hunting standpoint or a political standpoint. And I'm shooting towards his house. So my wife is like, they're going to call the police. You're going to get thrown in jail. You're going to get. So what I've done is I created, like in my gym in my basement, I got a lane and I clear everything out, and I have to open the door in my closet in the basement and go all the way against the back wall, but it's almost exactly 20 yards to my bag.
Yeah.
So I shoot in the basement, usually before I work out, I'll shoot, 8, 12, 16 arrows, whatever it is. And it's because I only have 4 left out of my 6 because I lost to tuning my bow and sighting in my bow. But but that's how I got to the bow. I got shamed into losing my crossbow, and then picked up the compound bow. But it was good. It was all good.
Man, there's so many points in what you just said that I want to hit on. Starting with the crossbow. I got a lot of good and a lot of bad attention from that. And shout out to JP, who, if you guys don't know, if you remember back, JP France I had on there, he was a minor league pitcher. He is now in the starting rotation for the Houston Astros. Yeah, and he is pitching well. So he finally made it up there. I called it on the show. So JP, if you do listen to this, I still want that autographed ball before you get into the Hall of Fame. But no, it's funny you say that about the crossbow, because that was the one fear. Luckily, it worked out in the best way that it could have. But that was my one fear that I said, after the fact, was I don't necessarily take back anything that I said. But I also, when it's out of context, it sounds bad. When I try to bring context into it, apparently it still sounded bad. But I do think, I've said this a million times, so I won't say it too much longer, but I do think crossbows are great. I think for kids and for people who, for you got shoulder injuries, you can't pull a bow. What else are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
You don't, luckily for you, you've been able to work into a bow. Some people don't have that luxury. They don't, I don't want to call it luxury, but some people don't have that ability to, their shoulder's just not going to be there. And so that's where, when I'm like, if it's an older guy and it keeps you in the woods, or, it keeps you shooting, stuff like that, it's great. So I apologize for calling you old and
it's all
forcing
good.
you to shoot a bow.
Look, I'm a little further, your age is a state of mind, right? So I'm just gonna never stop. That's what my kids say, you're just gonna keep rolling until you just fall over one day. And that's how I want it to happen. I just want to, I'll probably fall out of my tree stand and they'll find me in the middle of the woods, but that's good.
That's the best way to go doing something you love. But and I remember when you first started shooting that bow, I just remember a message. I don't remember it verbatim, but you're basically like, I got to shoot a compound and my shoulder's not bothering me. And just the excitement that you had that you're finally shooting a compound bow.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so cool. And I was so mad when people, that's the bad side. I think sometimes people want to talk about, hey, your draw length is too long. Hey, your arrows are too long. Hey, this, hey, that. Hey, get a new bow. I don't think that people are always necessarily trying to come off negative or trying to be offensive. I think a lot of people are trying to say, hey, obviously you're not aware of what draw length is. If you're anchoring back behind your ear, they think they're
that's
just
pretty
adding,
much where I was.
They're just trying to, let you know, hey, get that checked out. But it's also like on the flip side of that, maybe, I don't know, maybe the bow can't do that. Maybe you don't know that. There's a multitude of reasons for things. And that's the unfortunate part, is social media can be like a shark tank. You drop one little bit of blood in there.
Yeah, I took it all positive. I took it all as community, and no one did it maliciously. People were goofing with me a little bit, because they knew I was new and they were just kind of messing with me a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was all good because it helped me understand, okay, when I go get this new bow, I need to get my draw length checked. I need to go with what's the poundage, how long should my arrows be?
Right.
What am I going to be using them for? Am I going to go to shoot tack one day? Do my arrows need to be different than if I'm shooting, if I'm hunting with the arrows, where I'm shooting in the backyard,
Right.
and what field tips and broadheads and what do I shoot into? I didn't know any of that stuff, and through this platform on Instagram and my Late Start Hunt page, and learning from guys like you and Dave and Only Bows, and as I say that, a thing pops up. They're starting a live video right now for Only Bows.
Oh, are they?
I learned a ton, and then everybody was just so, I can't remember his name, but a guy from One Mission was just going back and forth with me, and he recommended Prime because he liked it, but he said, hey, you're gonna get what you like and what feels good to you. And I remember going back to him and just saying, hey, I ended up buying a Prime, and he was like, that's awesome. But he was just so willing to, I don't even know his first name. He may be listening to this at one point in time. But he was just so willing to listen to me and help me and give me advice, and all you guys were. So, it's, I felt like as a new bow hunter, I don't know if I can call myself a bow hunter yet, because I haven't killed anything with it, but I'm hoping that's my goals this year are to kill a doe and 2 buck, but we'll see what happens. Everybody was so great about it that I learned quickly, and it helped me when I went to the bow shop. I actually sounded like I knew somewhat what I was talking about.
All right, guys, it is that part of the show. We're going to take a quick break, and we are going to go through the friends of the show. First and foremost, we got a new number one. I was joking with Kyle at TAC about this, telling him when we did our live episode, I was like, you can't be number 3 when we're doing the live episode. So first, we got More Innovations. More Innovations is an awesome 3D printing company. They print things for guys who are working on their own bows. They have a lot of cool little caddy systems for your bow presses. They've got wall mount things. We have the 5-arrow pocket quiver. He's got just all kinds of great stuff. One of my personal favorite things would be the grenade pen holder, which isn't archery related at all. But I have one at work and at home, and I love using them. So check out moreinnovations.com. If you use code all caps AFCO10, that'll get you 10% off at More Innovations. Please go over there. Please support Kyle. He is just an awesome stand-up guy. So go check them out. Again, that's moreinnovations.com. Secondly, we have Adams Precision Archery. So if you saw me at TAC, you know that the AFCO APA Fanny Pack Wrap was a hit. I met a lot of you guys who either had it or knew about it. It's the coolest arrow build I've ever seen in my life. Thankfully, it's mine. I really enjoy it. Adams Precision Archery, they pump out just top-notch quality arrow builds, and they can take care of all of your archery needs for that matter. But if you go over to adamsprecisionarchery.com, use code all caps AFCO10, that's going to get you 10% off your arrow build at adamsprecisionarchery.com. Get the fanny pack. You want it. It's the best. That was really weird eye contact, but we'll roll with it. Thirdly, Buzzard Roost saddles. Buzzard Roost saddles are the most adjustable, most comfortable saddles your booty will ever sit in. I promise you that. I've been using mine for quite a while. I don't see any reason to ever look anywhere else. I want you guys to try it out. Like I always say every week, get one now so you can dial everything in. So when it's time to hunt, you can just get up in the tree, be comfortable, and wait for that buck to come in front of you. Use code all caps AAFP10. That'll get you 10% off over at buzzardroostsaddles.com. Our Grounds Coffee Co. My boy Ed is getting real close, guys. He's doing so much work to get his shop up and running. I think the roaster either should be here soon or is here. I don't know by the time this airs. But good coffee is on the way. Make sure you guys are supporting him while he's down, while he's not able to get his coffee out. Help him out. Get some merch from ourgroundscoffeeco.com. Use code all caps AFCO. That'll get you 15% off. I would also challenge you to just not use the code because pay full price. Help the guy out. He's a great guy. Fifth. I can't count. Pursuit Energy, guys. If you saw me at TAC, I had Pursuit Energy. A lot of you guys took it. A lot of you guys liked it. I really like it. I've been drinking it for a while now. obviously I don't want to seem like I'm a super big advocate for energy drinks, but let's be real. If you've got kids, if you got a job, if you're tired, whatever it is, energy drinks are a part of our life. So because we're hunters, why not support a hunting-centered energy drink? PursuitEnergy.com is where you can find it. They have, you can either buy the cans just in a pack, or I would really recommend that you go with the subscription route. Just get it sent to your door every month. You don't got to worry about it. I think you can choose how much you get, how often you get it. Grab a subscription over there. I think this is going to be a company that really takes off in the hunting world. They're very supportive of hunting. Like I said, we're trying to make this the number one energy drink in the hunting world, and it's very good. They have full-blown options, or they have the zero. I'm a zero guy. I prefer the zero stuff just because in my mind, I think I'm going to be in better shape. I don't know, but they all taste great. Thanks to all you guys who tried it out, who liked it at TAC. Go over there, PursuitEnergy.com, get yourself a subscription, or at least just try it out. You're not going to be upset about that. And finally, Quick Camo. That's QUIK Camo. I used their stuff all through turkey season. It did me right. I like it. Use code all caps AFCO10. That'll get you 10% off at quickcamo.com. Now, enough of me blabbing about friends of the show, even though they're all great people. Please go support those guys. Let's jump back into the content with Mark Ottenbreit from Late Start Hunt. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And like I said, you got a crash course, that's for sure, but yeah, on the bright side, all the things that, and while you were also learning these things, there's no telling how many other people were watching that were like, oh, that's the thing I found with this and found in general. I've always been in, it seems like I always find my way into like a trainer or like a coach or some sort of like leadership position where I've always been a teacher, I guess is what I'm getting at. And if there's one thing that is consistent across the board, no matter if it's hunting, if it's how to drive a forklift, if it's whatever, people always have questions and they're always afraid to ask them. They're always afraid of getting made fun of. They think their question's stupid. They think they're the only one that's dumb and not getting it. But the fact of the matter is, out of a group of 10 people, 9 of them are wondering the same thing. That's kind of a big basis of the show when I get guys on that have experiences. I just want to ask the questions everyone else is just kind of afraid to ask. I'll take the brunt. I'll be the one that asks the dumb question, because ultimately they're not dumb questions. And a lot of times experienced guys they get a perspective check. They've never thought of something that way. So even guys who have experience learn from that, So I'm glad you were able to learn a lot from it. And like I said, I'm sure other people learned from the whole scenario. And I just really loved the fact that you didn't care. You just wanted to shoot your
I'm
bow.
Old. I don't care.
Yeah, they weren't going to get to you anyway. But no, I really liked watching that progression. And, when you did get into that new bow, I remember having that conversation because you were like, what should I get? What should I get? And yeah, just anyone learning, it's not just me, but I'll give the same advice to you that I gave to Mark and others have given to Mark. Shoot what feels good. Because I can tell you, before my Matthews, I had a Mission Switch, which was like $400, I think. And honestly, the Matthews doesn't feel all that much better. They both shoot well. They both feel good. I've definitely, I am not, PSE bows just don't feel good to me. And I think it's just me. It's my ergonomics, whatever you want to call it. But to your point you made earlier, just because the bow's expensive doesn't mean you're going to like it. And if you don't like it, you're not going to want to shoot it, And so it is important. And I'm glad that you took that advice, because there's a lot of people too that are like, yeah, I'll shoot a bunch of them and we'll see what happens. In the back of their mind, they're like, yeah, but I really want that new Hoyt. And they go get it. And I think that even if it doesn't feel good to you right off the rip, like you'll get used to it. But there is something to, I'm sure you experienced it with your prime. You shoot a bunch and then one just is like, oh, something's different about that one. And yeah, so that was fun to watch that and watch you build it out. And now you're shooting a big boy bow with the rest of us. Actually, the old bow you had is probably more gangster than the ones we're shooting now.
I'm looking at the cams; they're like the size of a quarter, compared to what
I know.
they're just small. But one other point you brought up too is just backlash and stuff on social media. And I really, with my page, there's not a whole lot I put out that like I'm giving my opinion on. It's more or less like, hey, here's what I did. I caught a fish. I shot a turkey. I did this. And so I'm not telling people how to do stuff. I haven't done any product reviews or anything, but I did have, at one point, I can't remember what post it was, but I had one guy just kind of giving me the business on stuff. And I just totally didn't respond to him. And then there's a phrase that I use with everybody, and feel free to steal this. But after you say this, people just don't really know what to do sometimes. But if I finally type back this guy, I'm like, hey man, thanks for all your comments, but I'm sorry you feel that way. And I left it at that. And he didn't know what to do with that. He's just kind of like, what? And then he was gone. He disappeared. And I've used that line, and my kids use it on me now. They're like, I'm like, take the trash out, blah, blah, blah. I got this. And I'd be like, I don't care what your excuse is. And they're like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, Dad. Like, you can't use my own line on me, get the trash out.
Right. You have the dad trump card. Right, you better listen. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah. So kind of to bring it back to the beginning too, what about hunting? Cause you said you kind of started 5 years ago, and then I assume you were gun hunting.
Yes.
And you weren't really sure if you liked it or not. Cause gun season, as far as I know, unless you're in Florida or very south, like they're all freezing cold. And since, those of us who, Chris from Only Bows, those of us that don't wear Sitka, we try to get it done early so we're not freezing in December and January. So I'm kind of curious, after that experience, what was it about hunting in general that you went back? Like, because it sounds to me like all things not included. What is the saying I'm looking for?
All things considered. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Gosh, my brain's not firing off. All things considered, it sounds like your first experience out from a hunting perspective kind of sucked.
It did from a hunting perspective. And it was, we totally didn't know what we were doing. It's funny because, the property that we have, my father-in-law's had for, I don't know, we've had it 25, 30 years. And he's been hunting up there his whole life. And he took a break because he had nobody to hunt with. Because I remember growing up and having him come to me and say, hey, you should really try hunting. You should try deer hunting. You should do this, do that. And my brother-in-law went with him one time. I'll tell a quick little story. And he's if you knew my father-in-law, this is even funnier than it may sound. He's a quiet guy. He doesn't say a whole lot, but if you don't listen to him up there, you're not going to kill anything. He knows where everything comes from. He knows where they go. He doesn't need cameras. He knows what's going on up there. He's been up there for so long. So he goes up with my brother-in-law, and he says to my brother-in-law, you want to get in the tree stand? I'm telling you, you're going to shoot a buck if you get up in that tree stand. And he's with his buddy and says, no, I don't. We're going to go over here. We saw all this stuff over here. He's like, fine. So my father-in-law goes up in the tree stand. This 10-point buck, like literally 30 minutes later, walks right in front of him, shoots it, kills it. So he's thinking they hear him, right? He gets down, and he's got to drag this thing, to get it back. So he's got this little whistle, and he's blowing this whistle. And, my brother-in-law is wondering, like, what the hell is he blowing that whistle for? He's going to scare away all the deer. What are we? So he gets the deer back by himself and puts a rope around his neck and throws it over the basketball net that we had down there, pulls it up, and there's a big trail of blood, and he's got this towel out there, and he's got blood all over his hands, and he puts blood all over the towel, and he wraps his hand up, and my brother-in-law and his buddy are coming down the hill, and he's going, where the hell have you guys been? Where have you been? And he's like, I just shot myself in the hand. And they were going, oh my God. And they're like, look at all the blood. Holy cow, we got to get you to the hospital. Well, they're not even looking, and this big 10 points hanging from the basketball net behind there, and they finally see it behind him, but if you knew him, like, he's just a quiet guy. He's just awesome. And, but that was like, you hear stories like that, and it's just, I come from a sports background. I'm playing hockey and being in the locker room and road trips with the boys, and some of the,
Yep.
you hate being on, I equate it to, you hate being on the bus. So we used to drive from
Yeah.
Chicago, where I played college hockey, to Lake Superior State in Michigan, and you just 8 hours on a bus with guys you love and guys you absolutely passionately hate, but you're a team, and it's so I kind of looked at it that way, where the camaraderie with my family and friends and the goofing around, and and we weren't even, I remember walking up the hill. It's 5:30 in the morning, and my uncle's behind me, and I hear him light up a cigarette, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, the deer are gonna like smell that. I'm like, and he's like, so, and I said, well, they don't know what it is, and he goes, exactly, they don't know what it is, and I'm like, you can't, whatever, we can't. So you can't. Okay, and then sure enough, there's no deer there, and then the things like getting. I didn't know. I don't bring a flashlight with me. We walk out to our blind that we put out the night before. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're walking on our property. And as long as I can hear the stream, I know where I'm going. It's pitch black. I got my cell phone for a flashlight, and we get out there and just lose our way. So I basically just, we had no idea where we were going, and I look and I said, Jeff, there's a light. Look at the light. And he's like, oh yeah, just follow the light. I'm like, who the hell is out? I didn't even know there were any other houses out here. Like, who's out here? And then we get up closer, and he goes, you dumbass, that's your house. Like, we walk, so it's just, stuff like that is fun. But then there was a serious part to it, like, we didn't see any deer. And I was at one point thinking, like, this is stupid. Like, why do we do this? We're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We're freezing our butt off, but there's all those little things that you do with family and friends that you get back around the campfire and you talk about, and everybody laughs. And you got crazy Uncle Jeff who comes up there with you. And if you go that weekend with him, you're not getting a deer. It just isn't going to happen. He's
right.
He's faking that he went to the bathroom on his shoes and his Nutella, and he'll put it on his finger and lick it, and everybody thinks he's it's just crazy stuff like that. But those are the things that keep you going. And the other thing was just the peace. There's nothing like, I've heard you say this before. If you walk out to your tree stand at 5 o'clock in the morning in the pitch black, and you're not a little nervous, and I don't know if anybody has followed my page and you see the bobcat that we have on our property, like, that's in the back of my, it's a big cat, and it's in the back of my head all the time, like any little noise. But once you get up there and it's so peaceful, and the sun comes up and you just wake up with the woods, there's a song, I think it's by Larry Fleet. And it just says, you can't find peace like that in a bottle or a pill. You can't. You just can't. But I will tell you, what keeps me coming back is that, I started to learn from people like you and your podcast and all the other people that I have connected with over the last, well, it hasn't even been a year, that I think it's been just about a year that I've been on Instagram, because I was so social media adverse. But I've learned so many things, and here's what you have to do about, you got to be, scent elimination, and, where to put your stands and how to get things ready. And, we can't bait in Michigan, but food plots and all of that. And I started to get serious and take that into consideration. And I put up some cameras, and it's funny because when I shot my doe, my brother-in-law was with me, and we built this stand. We put this big blind on top of it. It's like 7 feet by 7 feet. And it was, I was worried because I didn't know, it's going to be 70, 80 degrees. So if I shoot this thing, like, what am I going to do? It's going to be, I've never skinned a deer, I did gut a deer. And that's a whole different, the first time is not, like, we don't even want to talk about that. But I learned what not to do in that time. Let's just put it that way. I didn't shoot the deer, but somebody hit it with a car anyway. So, but we're sitting in the blind, and I said to my brother-in-law, it's like 6, and he's like, how long do you think we're going to be out here? Because he duck hunts a lot. He's a waterfowl guy. He loves the duck hunt, pheasant hunt. And he's like, how long do you think we'll be out here? I said, well, if I'm right and watching my camera, the doe that I want to shoot is going to walk out of the woods, at between 8:30 and 9. And like 8:40, here it came. It just came walking out, and I can remember, Dave had asked me, Hawkins, when we were doing a live, he's like, you played college hockey, you've played in big arenas, you played in front of a lot of fans, and, juniors in college or whatever it was. And he's like, what's the difference, from an adrenaline standpoint? And I'd say that, you have more adrenaline when you're every shift and every, and you got guys that want to kill you and you want to kill them, and your adrenaline's flowing constantly.
Yep.
But the spike of adrenaline that you get when you see that deer, how it feels. And everybody who's shot a deer, especially their first deer, that spike of adrenaline that you get is like nothing else. And, I didn't even see there was another deer there. He's got his gun. I didn't even see, and I'm trying to film it on my cell phone. And I remember she walked out, and I remember kicking the tripod, and it made a big noise. And I'm thinking that, and she didn't. She put her head up, but what she put her head up for is when I took the safety off of my gun, it clicked, and she looked, and then he's telling me to wait, and I'm like, what do you mean wait? I don't have a better shot, and shot the deer, and it went through the front shoulder, out the other shoulder, and it did go through the heart. So, but what it did is it took her legs out, and she bulldozed across the for a good 20, 30 yards, fell over and died. And so we didn't say anything to each other for it seemed like forever, but it was probably, a minute, 2 minutes maybe. And then he looks over at me and he goes, damn. And and he was like, what the heck? He goes, that was intense. And he goes, I don't like that. I don't like that. And I'm like, I didn't quite like seeing that either. That was my first deer. And so my adrenaline was flowing. It's 75 degrees out. And all of a sudden I got cold, and I got the shakes and the shivers, and, because my adrenaline was starting to come down. And he's like, how do you feel? And I said, well, I feel a bunch of different emotions. I feel accomplished because I set all these cameras up, and everything, all the prep that I did and I learned from everybody, it worked, and it came and everything came together. And I felt a huge rush of adrenaline. That was awesome, because I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. And then I said, now I feel like a humongous pile of shit, because I just took the life of an animal, and I've never done that before, that big. But I got over it quick, and then we got in the woods, flipped her over, and he's like, what are you doing? I said, I got to clean it right now. I got to gut the deer right now. And he's like, right here. And I'm like, of course, there's no better place. And I had watched all kinds of videos and everything. And I think I did it. I timed myself. I think I did it in under 10 minutes and pretty clean. Yeah. Dang. And then we called the deer processor place, and like, yeah, we're sorry to tell you, but this was September 17th. It was an early antlerless deer hunt here in Michigan. And I called the place, and they're like, yeah, we don't open till October 1st. And I'm like, so you're telling me I got to do this myself? So we did. It's the first deer we skinned it. We processed the whole thing ourselves, and we had a production line. We hung that thing up, and I was so worried because it was warm out, and I'm like, I don't want the flies in there. I don't want this to go bad. Yeah. And I'm just hacking muscle groups off, and I'm following things and handing them to my brother-in-law, and he's trimming them up, and to my father-in-law, and he's putting them in bags and right in the cooler. And but it was great because I made my own burgers. I did all on my own. Next time I do it, it'll be a lot better. I probably lost more meat than I should have, but there's no other way than to just do it, and just get into it.
No. Yeah, that's I still feel that way. I'm not going to pretend like I've killed a ton of deer, but every time I do clean one, we'll just say this. As I've learned, I have family down in Arkansas. I have my buddy Tom here. I have other friends. I've cleaned or helped clean way more deer than I've killed. And yeah, it's like, especially that first one, man, every little piece of red meat that's still on that thing, you're like, no. Like, you feel like you're doing a disservice to the animal. And, it gets better. But like you said, like, you've got to clean one. You've got to do it. You've got to learn. And the only way you're going to learn, thank God for YouTube.
Oh, absolutely.
It can give you
That's
the
where
framework. It can, it shows you kind of what to do, but it does not prepare you for the real situation fully, because, I've said to people before, the first one you open up, you're worried, like, what if this deer doesn't look like all the other deer on the internet? What if something's different? And you open it up and you're like, I know where everything should be, and it's all there, but it doesn't quite look like, because it's your first time seeing it in person, and you're just like, what do I do?
Well, I learned, like, in Michigan there, and especially the DMU where we're at, there were some cases of chronic wasting disease, so they want you they want you to bring the head, to a checking station or whatever. It's not mandatory, but I watched some videos on it, what it was, what to look for. And so my brother-in-law was impressed because I'm opening this thing up and I'm looking at the lymph nodes and I'm like, so you see the lymph nodes here, if they're clear white, if they're yellow and pussy, we're throwing this thing out all together, but I learned a little bit. I'm obviously not an expert, but you can learn a lot from YouTube and learn a lot from just these guys who have been around for a long time and have done a lot. And you just listen to them. You listen to them on podcasts. You watch their pages. You watch the Outdoor Channel, Sportsman's Channel, whatever. You can't. There's one. Everybody has asked me. Over the last couple of years, my family thinks I'm nuts. By the way, they're like, "You're so into this, it's ridiculous," and. They say, like, well, what's the one thing you've learned in the last 2 years that really sticks out to you? And I said, well, the last thing, the number one thing I've learned is you cannot replace experience. You just can't. You just have to have the experiences, and you got to listen. But what works for one person may not work for another person, and what works in one situation may not work in that situation. It's all trial and error. But to get back to your original question, what kind of keeps me going is just the camaraderie with my family and friends, number one, is great. I've got a good buddy that I hunt with a lot, and it's opened up another piece of property that we hunt on here in Michigan. So we've got a couple of different pieces of private property that we open up on, and then I've got some buddies in Texas that man, I didn't know you hunted, and my one buddy bought like I think it's like a 300 or 400 acre ranch, and then another one of my buddies has a big lease out there. So I'm going to be hopefully doing some hunting in Texas this year, and then my daughter's at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and one of her buddies is a big hunter, and like I might do a mule deer hunt out there. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Yeah,
that would be sweet.
But I always say that, and I have big expectations of myself and aspirations, and then work and family stuff comes up, and I don't always get out there. But
yeah, sometimes I tell my wife. When inevitably when you're creating any sort of content, podcast and whatever it is, YouTube videos, you have those down days where you're just like, man, I don't know about this. I don't know how long I can do this. And I've told her a number of times, like, I feel like this is just a young man's game. Like, if you're not single, free, no kids, like if you're not in that the age frame where your income doesn't matter yet. So you can just go for it. As long as you can figure out how to pay for gas and tags, you can just go for it. But again, I think we're all in a different place in life. And I think it's important for every different place in life to be represented, because if all we ever saw ever was the 26-year-old who's just living free and wild in the back of a minivan, driving from state to state, none of us would feel like anything was attainable. We wouldn't, I don't think we would. It's good to see other people in the same boat and learn how have you navigated hunting with a family and a job? How have you learned how to, keep up with your Instagram stuff while not letting it totally negatively influence your family life? And so, yeah, I think it's great that those of us who are a little bit older in the game are still putting out content for other people to see that you don't have to be that young kid. You can still do this awesome thing called hunting. You just got to do it a little differently. You got to navigate a little differently.
I had some good buddies in high school that were big hunters, and I've always had an interest in it. But sports was that consumed my life growing up. And then, all of my kids, I have 5 kids there, they were all in sports and doing everything. We were all over the place. And so that was my priority, God, family, and then my job takes me all over. So I just really didn't have the time to do it. I could have made the time, I guess, but you're tired. And then there's the money thing, right? You're spending, if you know anybody who's been in gymnastics or hockey or all these high dollar sports, that takes a lot of your money. And I can't tell you, now that my kids are older and they're in college and they're out of the house, and the amount of money I spent the first 2 years on hunting supplies and guns and bows and crossbows and ammo And I mean, it is just, I've got a pretty good number on what I spent. I don't even want to say it because if my wife listens to this, I don't want her to
Yeah.
know that, but
Yeah, because it's actually
probably.
double what you've told her.
But,
Yeah, I remember it was either the first year or I think it was my second year of hunting, because the first year I didn't really know. So, I was everything I was buying for hunting was pretty transparent in the open. The second year, and I probably shouldn't even bring this up because it was a very sore subject, but I tried to be sneaky, and we are not big credit card people. Thank God, my wife is a saint in many ways, and in one of those ways, it is financial responsibility. And because if it was up to me, I would be still paycheck to paycheck broke all the time because I am terrible with money. But I remember I was like, man, because you get into it, you start seeing everybody buying this saddle platform, and saddle hunting's getting big, so you want to get a saddle, and then you got to buy sticks, and then you got to buy all the ropes for the saddle, and you got to get a ropeman for your saddle, and it never ends. It's always the next thing. And I remember my first year I was lugging around, it was a hang on, but it was one of the permanent hang ons. You're meant to put it up one time, and I was carrying that with those big square tube sticks that are, just there. It was meant to be permanent stuff, but I didn't know any better. And so I'm carrying this 60 pounds on my back into the woods. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I was powerlifting, I was strong, but it's like there's gotta be a better way. And I remember I think it was $2,500 piece by piece on my credit card. Cause I was like, she watches the bank account, but I'll just put it on the credit card. She doesn't really keep track of that very much, mainly because we're not supposed to use them. And man, the day she saw that statement and she totaled it up, and she was just like, do you realize how much you've spent? And I'm like, a couple hundred. And she was like, it was over $2,000. And it was not a peaceful day in the house that day. And, it was kind of at that moment, and I still do sneak things here and there, but it taught me, it really got me thinking, you don't need that stuff. It's good to have. It's great to have, my platform right now is 6 pounds. It's XOP Edge. And it's I'd really like to get into one of those 2-pound platforms. But we're gonna run it by the missus first, and then the longer you hunt, I think they kind of, your wife will kind of realize okay, this is something you're actually going to continue to do. In the first year or two, when you haven't killed anything, I'm sure in their mind they're like, are you even into this? You don't seem to be very good at it. Are you gonna spend $2,000 and then just quit next year? And that's the crappy part about it. Cause even when you try to get into hunting on a budget, and if you want to, like we talked about in a previous podcast, you can do it for almost dirt cheap. If you want to gun hunt and just wear some, flannel, and you can get in the woods, just pay for your tags. The unfortunate part is your brain won't be content with that. At some point in time, you're going to want to start leveling up, and it does start to get expensive at that point.
The camo, and just, if you're going to buy camo, it's my closet. My wife is like, why do you need all that? Well, I got to have this for that. There's all different camos, but I've been married 28 years, and it's, we went a long time in our marriage. We'll be sending anything that we're going to buy that's over $200. We got to both agree upon that. And we did do that, and then we got further along in life or whatever, and financially more stable, and then the $200 thing went out the window, and then I have found that as long as I tell her what I'm going to do, I'll drop it on with this bow, I'm like, I'm gonna buy a new bow, and I started that about a month and a half early, just kind of, I'm going to buy a new bow, and then I was like, what, I'm going to buy it now, and she's like, well, how much is that? I'm like, well, it's going to be a little more than $200, honey. And then, she did see that on the credit card. She's like, you spent how much money on a bow? But she's been great about it. And as long as I'm up front with her and I tell her what I'm doing, she might not be happy all the time, but she's been good. And there has not been one time in the last 2 years when I told her, and I try to do this in as much advance notice as possible, when I've told her I'm going hunting or I'm going fishing, or I'm going up north to work on the property. She's never said, no, you're not going, or she's never really gotten upset with me. She's always been really supportive. So.
Yeah. That's the same. Does your wife have any interest in hunting whatsoever?
No, none whatsoever. No way. I told her one time, I'm like, she did laugh and say, like, for the amount of time you sit in that tree stand, you don't get anything. And I'm like, okay, well, there's, but I said, well, then why don't you come with me and just sit with me, but she has no interest in freezing. Cause I remember the last time she called me up there, I had just gotten out of the tree stand, and I had spent 16 hours in my tree stand, and it was the warmest it was 15 degrees to minus, and I had spent over a few days, 15 hours in my tree stand, didn't see a single deer until I went to leave. She actually called me and said, hey, can you go over? We have this little playscape up there from when the kids were younger. She's like, can you go over by the playscape and get me some pine cones? Cause I'm going to be making something for Christmas or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, fine, whatever. I like the stupid pine cones. And I walk over there and I step on this branch and snap, and the 10-point that was on my camera jumps up and runs away. He's just been laying there the whole time, waiting for me to get out of the tree stand. And that's the only deer I saw the whole weekend. 10 or 8-point that I was tracking. But that's just how it goes sometimes. She just has no interest. She's like, I don't understand that. I don't get it. Like, why do you want to do that to yourself? But
yeah.
My wife, enjoy the pain.
My wife is kind of, I told her, cause she does like being outdoors. I've tried the last 2 years of turkey season. I'm like, let me fill one tag. And then once I fill one tag, you need to come out with me, because she would definitely enjoy being out there. She would enjoy watching the woods wake up. She'd enjoy, just hearing a gobble, seeing turkeys move. If you get one coming in, she would enjoy that whole process. But she's like, I'm just warning you, you're not taking a gun. And I was like, well, I have to have a gun. Cause if we run into another hunter and we're just strolling around in camo, that's kind of in my book to the other hunter. If you're not going out there and you possibly screw up someone else's hunt, I would feel bad about that. But she's like,
my wife would do that.
Yeah. But yeah, she's like, well, if they come in, I'm going to yell. And I'm like, well, I can shoot out to 80 yards, so go ahead. But no, I've tried to get her out, and she enjoys eating, what we bring home. Like she's supportive of hunting. She has nothing against hunting. She just does not want to kill one. She doesn't want to see one die. And I totally respect that. I think that, especially a woman, you got to understand, there are plenty of girls out there who hunt. There are plenty who are fine with it. But you just think about the way God made a woman. They are nurturers. They are, they're life givers. And I totally get that you don't want to see something die. You don't want to see, in your case or my case, I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but my first deer ever, I wasn't a hunter. I just happened to be in Arkansas with family, and they're like, hey, let's hunt. And I was like, yeah, I've always been interested. And I went out and I had a shotgun. It was shotgun season, and I sat there all day long. Nothing came through. I had one come through at 90 yards. I wasn't going to shoot it. And it was right before legal light, and I had two come in, and I'm just, like you talked about, that adrenaline rush. I was a pretty good wrestler. I've wrestled on national teams. I've wrestled national tournaments, state tournaments. I've been in front of lots and lots of people, thousands of people. And there is an element of adrenaline, but yeah, man, when you see a deer, like you were saying, the instant spike, because in sports, there's a buildup. You get yourself fired up, you get yourself ready to go, in wrestling, you mentally get yourself going. In hunting, it's instant. You're not in control of that adrenaline rush, and it's ooh. But so I had these two come in, and it's so weird how you can be so shaky, but once you get a scope or you get your sight on that animal, it's like your primal instincts take over. Your body's dead still.
Yeah.
And I watch this deer. I see two of them, and the lead one is a little bit bigger. And so I'm like, I'm going to shoot that one. I let it come into like 15 yards, blast it. Same thing as you. Took out the shoulders, watched it, unfortunately face plant and skid itself back and forth for 30 seconds. And this kind of goes full circle back to like your story of why did I continue hunting? I shot that deer, and the smaller deer stood next to that deer and was just stomping, and just at that point I realized like, oh my God, that's a really small, like that must be the baby, and I just killed its mom. Like I felt absolutely the worst feeling ever. And that baby sat there, and I texted or called my brother-in-law, Josh, who was down there with me, and it took him 20 or 30 minutes to get to my tree stand. And that deer stood by that other deer's side the entire time.
Yeah.
I was clapping, I was whistling, I was yelling to get it to run away, and it would not move. And it was one of the worst experiences of my life. And then we go and recover the deer, and the deer I shot was the size of a 60-pound dog. So the one that was smaller, I was like, oh my gosh, I killed a baby, and I probably killed its little sister. It was terrible. I have no idea how I got back in the woods, other than like it's just in our DNA to hunt, because it was horrible. And sorry for telling that on the air, Brandy, if you're listening to this. Yeah. I know you didn't want to hear that. But now I don't remember why I even brought that up. But back to, yeah. So I can only imagine, if something like that were to happen in front of my wife, like that would just, it would be terrible. So as much as I want her.
Yeah, she'd probably end up shooting me if I did that.
Yeah,
my wife, she loves to hike and be in the outdoors. We go to Tennessee hiking up in the mountains all the time. She loves to be outdoors, but just the killing of an animal to her is just not. She gets it. She gets the conservation part of it. She understands all of that, but she just doesn't want to do it herself.
Yeah. Well, and I wish more people understood too. Like, I can't speak for everybody, but we don't like it either. I mean, you alluded to it, I wish that there was some way that didn't have to happen. I much prefer my deer to fall within eye shot for tracking reasons. And I build my arrow setups and everything for that to happen. I practice so that I make sure that I kill them as quick as possible. But with that comes, you've got to watch them expire. And I hate it. I really don't like it. But I love everything leading up to it. I love everything after it. That one moment is not high on my list of things I want to do. Yeah. But, and I think that's good. And I think if you're a well-rounded, grounded person, I think that's normal. You shouldn't enjoy that. You take it up as it's a responsibility. It's part of the gig. It's a shitty part of the gig, but it has to happen. Right. And that's where I'm not a big fan of I don't have a problem to the point of like shaming people about it, but I'm not a big fan of the selfie craze that was like last year, where people want to take goofy pictures next to the deer. I have no problem with grip and grins, because I understand the work that's behind that picture. I know why you're smiling, but I don't like when people do funny pictures with their animals or try to somehow make fun of the situation, because my own personal opinion is like, you don't understand. You took a life on this earth. Now, hopefully you're responsible with it and you eat it and do everything else that to honor the animals best you can. But I'm not a fan of the goofy picture thing. I don't think that respects the animal. I think that shows a lack of respect and maturity in the realm of taking the life of another living creature.
Yeah, I agree. To each his own. I don't get too worked up about that, but it's we understand the conservation behind it, and we understand why it has to happen. But I mean, I've talked to people that have hunted for a long time, and they're like, yeah, that's not my favorite part. I'm not really, and that I don't really love that. But it's funny because my friends, I think a big misconception is that a lot of people think hunters don't love animals. They're not animal lovers,
Right.
but hunters are some of the biggest animal lovers, on the planet. And they're like, how can you say that? You're gonna kill an animal? Well, you just don't really understand. But it's I think that that being a big misconception for everybody. But you're gonna go out now and you're gonna shoot a deer, and I it's funny because I watched like the Outdoor Channel, and I'm watching all the different shows, and my buddies send me stuff of like the best the best shots of deer kills, like 25 deer kills in a minute, whatever. And I watch all that stuff to desensitize myself so I get used to it, and that's like before I went out to kill my first deer, I'm like, I'm going to watch as many deer getting shot as I possibly can through all these different channels and all these people sending this stuff out. So when I do it, I'm going to be ready. I'm not going to be surprised. I know what's going to happen, and I'm going to desensitize it. And it worked. I didn't get too upset about it, but the desensitization. Wow. I'm not even going to try to say that. You know what I'm trying to say?
Desensitization.
Yeah, that's it. I don't even drink, and I can't even say that. But it worked. It did. It kind of worked for me. So
yeah, I always like to remind every now and then you get the vegan comments on the hunting pages, and I'm like, first of all, how did you even get here? Like, you must purposely be following hunting pages just so you can go spread your veganism. I wish, like, as a new hunter and throughout, I mean, if you do the math on like throughout your lifetime, realistically, how many tags can you buy a year, times, let's say we hunt till we're 65, 70, do the math on that. And the total number of deer that I will possibly take in my entire life, if I have a great hunting career, is nowhere near the amount of life that is lost for you to eat your vegan tofu crop lifestyle. And I don't want to get all Joe Rogan and go into monocrop agriculture conversation, but he is they're very right about like you take this moral high ground of you don't take a life, but and other people who they don't hunt, but they'll eat meat from the store. You're a coward. Like, you won't go do it yourself, and you'll easily pretend that this is harm-free, I'm eating vegetables. Your vegetables killed more animals probably in this 1 year of you eating than I will ever kill in my lifetime.
Well, the other side of that too, there's an expressway in Michigan, I-96, and a part of that expressway, there's a lot of deer. And I can tell you, I remember heading down 96, and the road was just red with blood from deer on the side of the road. During the rut, they're running out there. I mean, that's a lot of meat that could be used to help, for homeless shelters, you name it, whatever.
Yeah.
That's just lost,
Yeah. Yeah. And and people get weird about the meat and all this other stuff. Like, I had a coworker who he had never had deer before, and I had backstrap leftovers, and I was like, try this out. I'm like, no, I don't want to. I'm like, if you taste this, and if it tastes any different than any steak you've ever eaten in your life, I will. I don't know what I said. I wasn't going to do anything. I was going to say, because I already knew the answer. And he tried a bite of it, and he was like, "This is deer?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Tastes like a steak, like ribeye." And I was like, "Exactly." Like, people get weirded out by game animal, and it's like it's like anything else you eat, as long as it's taken care of properly,
right?
Because it can get funky. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But no, I don't know. I think we were designed to do it. God created the animals. Unfortunately, we love them, but we've also been trained to think that animals are supposed to be something other than a food source. And, you know, I think it's pretty clear that we are to love and respect them and be good stewards of them, but they are here to be consumed.
Sure.
That's
Well,
how
I mean, you look at the conservation part of it. I mean, I know in Michigan, especially where my property is, we have a doe problem. You know, you can get 10 doe tags a year for $5 a piece because they need to clear the doe out because it's just, and when I drive up there, I can tell you, like, there's, you know, in a 3-hour drive, I could see 30 plus deer on the side of the road, you know, especially during hunting season. So anyway, there's a lot of different angles we can take with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and one more angle of that, aside from the insurance claims and the crop loss and the damage they do to, I mean, if you really care about the deer, and I believe that you do, if you really care about the animal's life, like, you've also got to understand that they are overpopulated in a lot of areas. And if myself and you and other hunters don't go manage that herd, those deer are going to starve.
Right.
Because there's going to be no food. Those deer are going to get hit by cars, which unfortunately on my way home from TAC this weekend, I watched a deer get hit, and then I got hit by the car behind it, and then I got hit by a car behind it. That deer would have begged to be shot by a broadhead.
Sure.
I'll just say that, you know.
Yep.
So, well, hey, man, I don't want to keep you too long. We've been going, looks like well over an hour.
I lost track. It's been good.
Yeah. I have really enjoyed talking to you. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. Like I said, we've been back and forth with each other for a very long time, and I'm so thankful for your time coming on here and getting to share this hour with you. And I look forward to our futures. Like I said, we're both still pretty new hunters, and we've got a lot of good experiences ahead. A lot of maybe not so good experiences, and we'll all share those together. So just glad to have you on. Let everybody know where they can find you and follow along with you on Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram, it's just Late Start Hunt on Instagram. And then we do have a YouTube channel, but we haven't really gotten into that too much. So it's at Late Start Hunt 7313 on YouTube. But yeah, Late Start Hunt on Instagram is where I put, you know, all of our content.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, hey, make sure you go follow him as soon as you get off this show. I think you're going to like what you see. I've really enjoyed watching Mark's journey. And like I said, there's a lot of good things to come. So make sure you follow him. Make sure you're following us on Instagram and YouTube and all the other places. You guys should know where to find me by now. If not, get on my link tree on Instagram. That will get you where you need to go. And if you found value in the show, if you liked what you heard, if you liked the conversation, the one thing I'm going to ask you to do is just please share the show with somebody. I don't care if it's your grandma, if it's your mom, if it's your neighbor, if it's your babysitter. Share the show with them, because when we share this show, we can continue to keep getting great guests on, which ultimately is going to make you more deadly in the woods. We know that. So for Vince, for Mark, this is the Antler&FeatherCo Podcast. You are listening to the Antler&FeatherCo Podcast.